Hello, and welcome to something a bit different. As you can see by the gameplay and by the title of the video, this is Active Aggression. I've been playing a pre-order beta for roughly a day now, and I just want to give my thoughts, my opinions on the game so far. So, let's just get right into it. First off, Active Aggression is more of your standard real-time strategy game. It more belongs to your Age of Empires and Commander and Conquers. Yeah, and your war games and Total Wars, where you have to build units from buildings, and in those buildings you can get technology upgrades to make your units better, and you have to worry about gathering resources while fighting on the front lines against the enemy. And like all other standard RTS games, you got multiple resources that you're going to have to keep an eye out for. You've got oil, which is your standard, use that for everything, buy everything with it, and you can have pretty much an infinite amount of oil. You got your second resource, which is aluminum. You can only have a limited amount of it, but you can upgrade how much you can carry by increasing your reserves and buying more deposits and sort of silo style buildings. And use aluminum to build more techy units and upgrade to more advanced tech and some more specialized units at the end. And finally, you got rare earth resources, which is like its red resource. You only really get it till the late game once you got your base technology research, and you use that to build the super units and get the super upgrades that make your units from good to great, and you use that to get the super duper weapons like nuclear warheads or an artillery cannon that shoots goddamn nukes. Pretty much your standard RTS game in that regard. And while on topic of resources, they have multiple ways that you can gather your resources, some gimmicky ways to be First off, you got standard build a refinery on a resource field, and you get money over time by harvesters moving the resource back and forth towards your base. Second way you get money is from banks. Banks are buildings, yellow buildings. You put infantry in the banks, you get passive income over time. Easy peasy. And the last way you get resources is from prisoners of wars or enemy POWs. When an enemy vehicle blows up, a pilot pops out of it, and they run really slow. If the enemy can get them back to their main base, they get some refunded money. But if you can capture the enemy pilot, you can earn yourself a bit of bob by putting them in a POW camp, and you can trade them in for aluminum or rare earth resources, or just some standard oil. It's quite an interesting system, because while my mechanized and helicopter groups are moving up, blowing up everything in their array, I got two just standard infantry guys following the trail of carnage, seeing the POWs and just handcuffing in and throwing them into the POW camp. Right now there's only 2 of the 3 factions in the game, in the beta. And the first one being the United States Army, which is pretty much your plain Jane, standard real-time strategy faction. They go through, different phases of technology. You have to get one through the other, and through that you get, standard tanks and standard AA units and standard infantry style units. Nothing really too crazy. If you ever played Command & Conquer Generals, they're very similar to the US faction in that, just without any laser tanks, unfortunately. And secondly, you got Chimera, which is pretty much all the European countries getting together and forming a high-tech army. And it really does show, because they have English snipers with French helicopters, German infantry fighting vehicles, Russian artillery. It's all a really cool mix of a lot of stuff that you kind of seen in Raw game, and you also sort of seen in Arma 3. The best way I can really describe both factions is that the US Army is an all-you-can-eat buffet, where you can have a lot of selection of units that you might want to try out. You want some strikers with some Abrams, with a little touch of Guardian helicopters. Well, the Chimera are more of a fancy restaurant, where you don't get as much selection on the menu, but what you're getting is pretty good. Just don't look at the price tag. The gameplay itself is very fast, where units move around the map quite quickly, thanks to the fact that when units run a road, they move faster and off-road, kind of like in War game. But overall, I'm finding it a lot of fun. I'm still trying to learn a lot of the gimmicks with some of the units, but it's good. It's a good standard RTS game. I do have a few problems with it, The camera is a big issue for a lot of players, including me, where you're forced to use the satellite camera, where it's this big overarching camera where you see the entire battlefield and everything's all nice and colour coded. But when you want to get into a battle and you're trying to micro your units to fight the enemy, it's not all that great, because it's not great to pick out units individually. So when you go to the standard camera, where you can hardly zoom out, and you can pretty much see the ants moving on the ground. That's how zoomed in it is. So there's not a nice little middle ground where, you know, I can still see a good amount of the map, but I can micro my units effectively and tell units apart from one another. And right now it is in beta, and you can definitely tell it's beta. It's very bare bones. You only got half a dozen maps, and all you can do is skirmish and multiplayer. And yeah, that's it. There's no campaign or single player missions yet. And there's no tutorial, which is quite a big issue, especially for a lot of people just getting this now and trying to figure out what's going on. You have to like jump into a skirmish match and just figure out what buildings do what and how some of the mechanics work. So unless you've been dying to play active aggression and you really want to play it, hold out on the beta for now. It's bare bones, like I said before, and there's not too much content in it. So just give it a couple of weeks. They're going to add the third faction in, and that should hopefully spice things up. And just on a more personal level, I really do hope that this game gets some sort of a competitive scene, because I love casting. I really enjoy casting. Look at my LM battle videos. I've goddamn how many replays I've casted throughout that game's lifespan, and same with Red Dragon. I enjoy it, and hopefully this game gets some sort of competitive scene where I get to see some really high-end players, you know, play it out in some tournaments to win some money, and just see some good players, some good replays. Because I love replays, and this game has an observer mode where you can observe games live in the game lobby, and I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully we get to see some sort of tournaments come out of this. I know right now in the Active Aggression Replay Centre they have a King of the Hill tournament going on right now, so if you're interested in that, go and check it out. But yeah, overall, I like this game. It's fun. It's a departure from Raw Game. It's not Raw Game. It's not the sequel to Raw Game. It's not anything like Raw Game. But it's fun. It's different. And yeah, hopefully you're going to see a lot more videos of this in the future. So, I'm RANGROO. Take it easy.